1999, I started out at the Y, full-time, after-school director. And you had already been there for about a year at that point. You'd done 1 year had 1 year under your belt. So I start up, and we're doing our thing out on the playground. Kids are playing, we're doing stuff with them, engaged in activities. Then it gets to a point where the kids are doing things on their own, and you and I have a chance to step back, and we just get talking. And I knew at this point that you were a pastor. And at times that made me a little nervous because, I might swear or something. And then there was, oh, sorry, Todd, I shouldn't have done that in front of you. So I'd apologize. And I can remember specifically when I realized that this was not what I was used to. This is not the type of pastor I was used to. This is a different type of relationship, is when you told me, well, that's okay. You don't have to apologize for swearing in front of me. Which I found interesting because a lot of my experiences in church, that was just the most horrible thing you could do. I had horrible experiences with just the way people treated you in church. And although I always knew that there was a God and that he was out there, and at times he was a genie to me where I would just ask for the snow day in June because I didn't do my homework. I never really quite understood the complete, what God was all about. And so we would talk about things, and I would, being the questioning person I am, I would always ask questions. Why do these things happen? Why do bad things happen to good people? And I would, I'd ask, and I wasn't asking in kind of to be rude or disrespectful towards God, but it was just my way of trying to find these things out. And I can remember having very deep conversations. And I think these conversations those conversations really developed to where I am now. And I think that I will always be a seeker. I don't ever want to not be a seeker. So to me, even though I'll always be a seeker, it put me on the right road of where God really was and how to really be in touch with God. What was really funny about that was because it was just two friends talking, having a conversation. And I never felt as though I had you beating me down with the Bible, like, you really, do you know where you're going to go? And it wasn't that sort of thing. It was, I felt like it was two friends. I could ask questions, and I never felt as though that the answers were, they were the type of answers that you put thought into it, and it wasn't just out of the can. I felt like you really, if you didn't know, you didn't know, and you told me that really there was no one who knows these things. Sometimes that wasn't good enough for me because I'm just one of those type of questioning people. But it has those conversations that we have had developed to where I am now, where I still am a seeker. I hope I always remain one. And I've had a chance to do the same thing with other people. I've had clients that I've worked with. I remember one in particular, a situation where I really, really felt as though I needed to say something. I really just wanted to say something about God, and I didn't take the opportunity. And I remember leaving that day, and I really was really upset with myself for not doing it. And I made sure that the next time the opportunity came up, I did. And this person, I talked about church, we talked about God, we talked about the relationship, to forget the rules, to think of God as just someone you can talk to. And I found that I do this, I even do this at night. I wake up at night and just laying there just with thousands of things going through my mind, and I'll just have a conversation with God. It's just like we're talking to an old friend.
What was it for you, like, about the way that we could have a conversation, say standing on the playground with 30 kids around, that made you feel comfortable enough to ask questions about God, about your own spiritual journey. Why then, why in that setting did you feel like this is a safe place to ask these questions?
For me, the key was our friendship. And that I had a trust in you, we had a bond, we had formed a relationship as friends that I felt comfortable asking these things because I didn't feel as though, I mean, like I said, I know that you, at that point, I knew you were a pastor, but I didn't feel as though you were pastor on call. You were there as my friend, and we were doing our job, but questions came up, and it, wasn't, you were willing to answer them right then. You didn't say, I'll give you a call because I'm not on pastor time. You were there to be my friend, and when we would just talk, and we would just chat, and the answers were genuine. They didn't seem like you had like a script that you were using. It was just two friends who were talking. It was just straight answers from two people who were becoming friends and had become friends. And I think actually it's one of the things that we still, when we do get together, because it's not like before we would see each other 5 days a week.
Yeah.
And we'd have those conversations. And now it's not as often.
No,
sometimes
not
it's
near
only
as often as we want it to be.
sometimes it's only Sunday.
Yeah.
And sometimes we can sneak in coffee for a couple of hours or whatever. But I still think that a lot of our conversations still go back to that subject of I still have questions and that I like to have answers to. And sometimes it's just because I have questions, and sometimes because it's comforting because you just want to be reassured. And when you're fortunate enough to have the person who really put you on the right path is still, part of your life, it's nice to get the reassurance, like, okay, well, I remember him telling me this 10 years ago, but is it still true? And so to have that, I think that because of our friendship, that still becomes a focal point of a lot of times we get together. It might not start that way, but the conversations almost always lead that way with us.
That's cool, thank you.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
I really had to stop myself from getting up and giving you a hug because I really did, because most people know I'm not much of a hugger.
Yeah.
But it was really
Yes.
cool, it was
We'll hug
close.
when it's all done and the camera's off.
Well,
Okay,
that's fine.
Cool, yeah, it was. Now you give me a hug.
All right.
Thanks. It's awesome, I'm so glad we get to share this story.
I wouldn't have it, no question, because I'm a good person.
Right.
Well, probably again, not quite right.
Yeah.
Better than thinking God's a genie, but still not there.
Right.
Then just being disheartened by church because, you're not, you haven't done this, this, and this, and you're not good enough, and only I am, even though, it says that we're all sinners, but not me. I mean, you are, and you are, and you are, but I'm gonna point out that you are, but
Right.
I'm not. And this would be even people who weren't part of it. I mean, they were in the congregation, and they would tell you how horrible you were, and how much better they were than you. So I went that route, and then that's when I just kind of like, I'm just gonna give up, because I know in my heart what I believe, but I was never on the right road. And I think it was getting us doing life together, like being put
Yeah.
together
Yeah.
in settings, like you said, ordained,
I know.
had to have been.
Yes.
I just have
Yes,
I have
absolutely.
no
Yes.
question about that.
No, I mean,
Because, and I guess it could be blind luck, but I just don't believe in blind luck.
right, right.
And I think the fact that we were together, that is where I was put on the right path, the right road of what it really means to be, to see God for who He is and what His plans are for
I
me.
mean, that first year was brutal. Man, maybe the first 2 years were
Yeah.
really tough.
Yeah.
To get the kids to, I don't know, just really craft that environment, so that this is the culture of our program, and now this is what's expected of you. And then when it started to click, and then all of a sudden we're like, what are we doing here? We got nothing to do. The
We could
kids are all
leave.
playing with each other.
We could leave,
I know.
get coffee,
Right.
come back.
And yeah, in those days that one of us would come in with coffee, and we just stand there and watch the kids play. And I just loved how our conversations could turn, and I mean, like you said, to this day they do. But that's, I think, the nature of friendship. When your conversation turns from last Sunday's football games to, hey, I mean to ask you, I have this question. What about? And it's like, whoa, dude, you know.
Well, they were always, I felt like they were deep conversations too.
Yeah, oh yeah.
It wasn't just surface.
Oh no.
And it wasn't, and it was, I could tell that there was something, like I said, there was something different about you because the questions I could ask were deep. I don't think I was throwing out softball questions.
No.
And the answers you gave were deep, and like I said, it wasn't you going to your prepared script.
Right.
Well, let me see you, and someone asks you this,
I know.
find the page, and
Yeah.
oh, this is the answer that you give.
Right.
And they were, I thought, genuine questions and genuine answers. Like it didn't, and who knew what I was going to ask on
I
a given
know.
day? I mean,
I know. And then we got to the point where I could actually share with you some of the books that had been instrumental in me
Which I
discovering
still have.
answers.
I still have.
You know, like Philip Yancey, was it Reaching for the Invisible God, maybe, I think
Mm-hmm.
that I gave you. And I don't know what else, but that wasn't where we started. So like, oh, we'll read this.
Right.
It'll fix everything.
That would have turned me off.
Uh-huh.
That's, I think, what the key
I
was.
think
is-
the idea that when you asked a question and it resonated with me, and maybe something I even struggled with, or always accepted, but now I want to know, why do I accept this? So if I found a tool that helped me, the idea that I could hand it off to you,
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't like, well, here, this will fix everything. No, this was beneficial for me. You might enjoy it too. And then where that took us. And then I think with just the anxiety after September 11, and then the intensity of the next couple of years with what you went through, you know, and even us talking for what a good solid school year about, or how much longer are we gonna keep doing this?
Mhm.
You know, or like, I think the thing neither one of us wanted to give up was that. You
Yeah,
know,
that
it's like,
was hard to give up.
that was a tough one. That was tough. And then as soon as you make the decision that that's what you're gonna do, all these other things just got pulled out from under you. And it's like, but at that point, I think you were beginning to really kind of lock in on what your faith was.
Well, and I think without those conversations, which again,
Oh.
had to have been ordained,
Yeah.
predetermined, whatever,
Yes.
because without those, I don't know what would have happened
Right, right.
those couple of years down the road when things did really kind of fall apart. for
Yeah,
me,
yeah.
You know, one thing after another.
Yeah.
And I feel like now, you know, I still, not that life's ever perfect, but I've had things that have been almost as bad as those things happen to me. And I've never felt like I've been pretty steady, like I can handle this. I'll
Yes.
get through this.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
A
The
lot
thing
of
you
prayer.
stand on is a little more solid. Yeah, yeah.
And I think too, my point of view is if someone were to come ask me some of the questions that maybe I asked you, it would even maybe strengthen my faith. Not, like you just said, it's not about making that person feel better, because you are in the short term, but the long term is maybe you're doing something for yourself too, because then you're really examining, like,
Yes.
why do I believe this?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Where have I
Oh.
heard this before? Is this true? Maybe I need to
Uh-huh.
research it some more.
I've always just accepted it because it was presented that way. You just accept it,
Yeah.
you know? I love your angle on always wanting to be a seeker, you know? I mean, I think we use that word to describe someone who is not yet a Christian. You know what I mean? If they're intentionally seeking God, but yeah, we don't. A lot of Christians, I think, they even like might pray a prayer like I prayed today, and they kind of cross that line of faith, you know. But then they stop seeking. Like, there, I'm in, and that's
I think that
it's
the
awful.
idea of being mature in your faith, which I think is important, but I never would want to be.
No, you're never gonna get there.
Right.
Right.
Like, it would be nice to,
Right.
I always just want to be seeking.
Maturing.
Right. I
Right.
don't want to actually be
Be
mature
mature,
in my faith,
right.
because I think I will stop
We won't.
at that point.
You fool yourself if you think you're there anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Am I more mature than I was last year this time? I hope so. Yeah. Cool. You can shoot.